much of the negativity towards the couple is coming from within the royal family. The royal family and staff of the royal family are the ones that are very often leaking these stories to the press.
Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well and that you had a great week. To all of my house guests, come in, make yourselves at home, make yourselves comfortable. If you're passing by and you'd like to become a house guest, don't forget to hit subscribe and activate all of your notifications. I'm Chez, this is Chez M0i. Welcome to my place. As some of you may know, I recently moved house. One of the things I don't like about this process is having to set up and initialise utilities and services at the new address, because it oftentimes involves endless phone calls and having to wait in for the whole day for a tradesman to arrive. On Tuesday, I took delivery of a new broadband router with a promise from my broadband provider that my internet service would be activated by the next day, Wednesday, at 8 o'clock in the morning. Wednesday morning, 8 o'clock came and 8 o'clock went. The constant blinking of the orange light on the router meant that the service was inactive. So after 2 hours, I called the provider. They guaranteed that my service would be activated by midnight. Midnight came, midnight went. By the time I woke up on Thursday at 6 a.m, the blinking orange light put me in a bad mood. Again, I called the provider who said they'd book an engineer who would come out in the next 3 working days. Needless to say, I was far from satisfied, but I thought, let me give them a chance. Friday, 9 a.m. I decided I wasn't going to wait 3 working days for an engineer, and I spent 1.5 hours on the phone telling the provider that their service was substandard, unacceptable, and they needed to send an engineer today, otherwise I would cancel the whole thing. I was told, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to wait for the engineer because it was their company policy. To which I responded, I did not care about their company policy, and the only way I would remain as a customer is if they sent an engineer out today, Friday. Lo and behold, an hour after I ended the call, an engineer turned up at my door. As an observer of corporate systems, one thing I realized very early on is that if the company can wear you down by sticking to their guns and deny all responsibility for something which is clearly their fault, they know that the likelihood is that you will get tired, give up, and finally accept the predicament you find yourself in, and the resolution will be in their favour, not yours. My minuscule battles with corporate and government entities are not likely to end up being heard by the High Court in London, unlike Harry, whose joint lawsuit with over 1,300 others against News Group newspapers reached a stunning conclusion.
News just in, Prince Harry has hit the headlines again. He's settled his case against the news group newspapers.
Extraordinary development.
Yes.
After the court case was meant to start yesterday, it got postponed because it became clear that there were talks between NGN, the publishers of The Sun, and Prince Harry, who for years has demanded accountability of the newspapers for what he says were unlawful practices that invaded his privacy. And this morning we have news that there has been a settlement agreed to, substantial compensation for Prince Harry, but importantly, I read here, an unequivocal and full apology from NGN to the Duke of Sussex, and I'm quoting, for the serious intrusion by The Sun between 1996 and 2011 into his private life, including incidents of unlawful activities carried out by private investigators working for The Sun.
Yeah, this is a massively big deal.
Huge moment.
Yeah.
Huge, because what Harry said he wanted more than money was accountability.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, what he's managed to get is the most voluminous undisclosed sum of money, win, and accountability, because there's this proper apology. And that really is a double score, isn't it, of Harry getting what he wanted and a huge amount of money too. And then we all then think, gosh, what did Harry have to go through? How intrusive, how difficult it must have been. And I had some experience of a similar kind of thing. And it's a sort of situation where you just don't know who to trust. You don't know, is it the porter at the hospital? Is it the person in the car park? Is it your best friend?
Yeah.
Is it somebody who says they love you? Have you told anybody? You think, I didn't say a word. How can people know where I am, what I'm doing, where I'm going? And think what he must have gone through and think how he must feel today. My goodness.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to sit on the stand for 4 days.
He doesn't have to sit on the stand.
Yeah.
But
Plus
it
exam.
always struck me, though, Tom, that he wanted to, because actually he wanted people to hear in court what had happened to him.
It's very interesting because what happened yesterday and clearly the discussions about financial compensation in the first instance, you wondered whether there was going to be this battle between what he wanted in accountability and the cash. Is he going to take the cash rather than get the accountability? But I think this is actually a double win for him. Because as Vanessa says, he's got the money and he's got an admission.
Yes.
He's got an admission of serious intrusion by the newspaper. He's got a full and unequivocal apology. They say, forgive me for reading off my phone, but they say they further apologise to the Duke for the impact on him of the extensive coverage and serious intrusion into his private life, as well as the private life of Diana, Princess of Wales, his late mother, in particular during his younger years.
And I think one of the things we haven't said is how much it has obviously been deemed worth to the group of newspapers not to have all of this out in court.
Absolutely.
Think what only would have been said and how damaging it would have been. And then people who have condemned Prince Harry as a whinger, as somebody privileged, who's making a big fuss, and why doesn't he just belt up and stop it and start enjoying his life and everything else? I think we'll have to think, if they were prepared to pay him this much, we don't know how much, but undisclosed enormous amount of money must have been, then think how much they didn't want it to come out in court.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that transpires over the next few days, because it was all building up to the court case itself.
I mean, he may well say something too. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what he says on the back of it.
It'll be hard to resist, won't it, saying
absolutely.
something? I'm sure he'll want to.
Let's go on to our second story, which...
Harry ended up achieving what his brother and his father were convinced he would never be able to achieve. NGN had to pay over £1 billion to settle with the other claimants, including Hugh Grant, because those claimants were strong-armed into submission by being told that if they lost their case, they would be liable for the defendants' court costs. The mainstream media tried to convince us time and time again that Harry would fail in his pursuit of holding Rupert Murdoch and his empire to account, because they said Harry didn't have the financial resources compared to Murdoch's deep pockets. The fact that Harry hired the best legal team, who was also trusted by his mother, should have let these media demons know that Harry meant business. Harry was never going to accept a substantial settlement without the admission of guilt from NGN. Make no mistake, Harry accepting damages is not him conceding. He most probably will donate the proceeds to the support of his charities. I'm convinced that what was much more important to him was the public acknowledgement of wrongdoing by NGN, which makes you wonder what NGN did not want revealed in that courtroom. The fact that Rebecca Brooks lied under oath at her trial 10 years ago and 10 years later is the company's CEO shows you how unscrupulous and whorish these degenerates really are. Like many of you, I've been aware of Harry since the day of his birth on the 15th of September 1984. Since his marriage to Meghan and since they left the UK in 2020, I've seen his confidence grow exponentially. People seem to conveniently forget that he was the one who made the decision to leave.
This was Harry's decision to move away from what he'd obviously imagined was going to be his future and his destiny. There was always a sense that Meghan had to prove herself worthy of Britain, prove herself worthy of her husband, prove herself worthy of her position in the royal family. It's a lot to ask of any individual.
The British public opinion is that it's all Meghan's fault.
I've seen little cartoons of me on all fours with her holding a dog lead and me wearing the dog collar. How predictable that, the woman is to be blamed for the decision of a couple. In fact, it was my decision. She never asked to leave. I was the one that had to see it for myself. But it's misogyny at its best.
And given that he was the one who made the decision for him and his family to leave the UK, why did people think he was bluffing when he said he was on a mission to hold these tabloid newspapers to account? If William can describe his deceased mother as paranoid and happily accept an out-of-court settlement with no apology, why do people still doubt what Harry told us with regard to the origin of certain stories?
Much of the negativity towards the couple is coming from within the royal family. The royal family and staff of the royal family are the ones that are very often leaking these stories to the press.
The fact that Harry ignored the advice of his apathetic father and apathetic brother proves that Harry is without doubt his mother's son. Do not believe the lie that women don't like strong men. It doesn't necessarily apply to physical strength, but more importantly, mental tenacity. In my humble opinion, there's nothing more attractive than a man who says what he means and means what he says. A man who has the ability to turn his pain into purpose and stand up for what he believes in, regardless of the personal cost, is definitely husband material. And I suspect this is one of the many reasons why people like Meghan Kelly feel like this about Harry's wife.
You're in America now, and we don't give a shit about you. You're not our fucking prince. You'll never be king. We hate your wife. Stay at home in your $29 million mansion, all right?
Harry isn't done yet because there's another trial due to take place a year from now against Associated Newspapers Limited, which includes the Daily Mail. And I find it interesting that Harry and the other claimants have been told to limit their legal costs from £14 million to £4 million. Very interesting. In addition to this, Harry also wants the police to launch a criminal investigation into these tabloid activities. Now, perhaps one day the rest of these journalistic jokers will be fully exposed, not necessarily by Harry, but they will be called out by others for the hateful liars they truly are.
And I have to end this in a moment, Camilla.
Just a quick one on the regrets, because I agree with Anna that there are some leavers who are having regrets, but that's not the same as suddenly becoming a rejoiner.
No,
Well,
I think most people
want to go back in and then be a part of Schengen and then be a part of yet more
You don't listen to
contributions.
You make stuff up, and you should be held to account for the fibs you've told to people about the benefits of Brexit.
I just said, Anna, because there is some polling.
I never said rejoin. Who said rejoin?
But you were talking about... You were
not
talking
Dahlia.
about... And
I said, let's have an honest conversation about it.
Okay guys, so let me just quickly go back to the video that was just played. Now, I've seen online this week this video with Camilla Tominey being told off by Anna Soubry, and I was under the impression that it was very recent and it was in relation to Harry and Meghan. It's actually a video from 2 years ago, the 3rd anniversary of Brexit. For those of you who are from the UK, you know exactly what that means. Nothing to do with Harry and Meghan, but just for context, I've played a bit more than other people have played. I doubt whether you want to watch the full 43 minutes unless you're interested in UK politics, but to get the context, I've put the link in the description box below. Now, when it comes to Diana's nieces, they've been on the cover of Tatler, 3 sisters. They are Charles Spencer's daughters, and Vanity Fair have done an article where they're gushing about William and saying how much they're proud of him. Meanwhile, their father, Charles Spencer, has made an announcement about how proud he is of Harry. Now guys, this why I started off with the, my little story time at the beginning of the video, not very exciting, but I do say it to people in my circle that the way that these systems are designed, whether it's corporate, government, all of these different agencies and entities, they are not here to help us. They are just put in place as part of the structure. But when it comes down to it, they, as far as I'm concerned, they want to make your life as difficult as possible. And I think that is a contributory factor to the way that people are stressed out. If you don't have a tenacious mind, you will give up at the first hurdle. And this is what these entities want you to do. They don't want you to fight. They want you to be so worn down that you will give up. And you won't see the resolution that you desire to see, but everything will almost always work in their favour. If you're not prepared to give up some of your time, some of your resources, financial, family time, etc., to pursue your end goal. I do it many, many times there. I remember when Facebook started, first, became popular, and I posted on there that there was a company that owed me some money. It was only £100, but £100 is £100, okay. And they kept telling me, the check's in the post, the check's in the post. This went on for, let me say, 2 months. And the reason was because I was living in Bedfordshire and they were in the East Midlands. So for those of you in the UK, you kind of know that they're not close to each other. These guys, they relied on what they thought was the fact that I wouldn't be bothered to pursue this money that was owed to me. I said, I've got time. Okay. I got into my car. I drove up to Coventry. I sat in their office and I said, I'm not leaving until you give me my money. The manager was so embarrassed. I wasn't going to cause a scene, but I said, I said, I've got all day. I said, I will stay here until you guys go home, but I am not leaving without my money. The man had to go and write me a check. Unfortunately, my bank was actually across the road from their offices. That was God's providence, okay? Because literally I walked from their office to the bank and cashed the check because I said, this check better not bounce. Let me put it in now. So yeah, I am that woman. I am that woman that if I believe that something is due to me, I will not stop until I get it. And this is why I admire Harry so much, because he's been telling people for years, he's been made it known, I am not going to rest until I get an acknowledgement for what has been done to my mum, what has been done to me in my private life as a child. And I suspect that he will have negotiated something with regard to intrusion into his family with Meghan, you know, his wife and his kids. So a big win, a big win, and I'm very, very happy. It's good to see. And a lot of these commentators, they're kind of looking now. I know Piers Morgan had something to say on his Twitter, but he's not as vocal as he usually is, or he used to be. And I've noticed that with him, because he knows that he's partly guilty in all of this. I've told you guys, if you've watched my videos long enough, that there is actually a video on YouTube with Jeremy Paxman demonstrating how Piers Morgan showed him how to hack a phone. Now, if that's not the case, why has Piers not sued Paxman? Why has that not happened? And Morgan has denied. This is what these guys do, deny all the time. But this is a turning point for these journalists. It's a turning point because it's making them think now. And with regard to William, people were saying, oh, you know, William hasn't made a statement. William is not going to make a statement. He's, I guess, embarrassed that he couldn't achieve the same thing. And the fact that Harry didn't listen to him, you know, because his dad and his brother were saying it was a waste of time. Harry didn't listen to them. Harry is his own man. He's an independent thinker. Because had he thought like them, his life would have been ruined. He's proved that time and time again. He is his mother's son. And I don't doubt that, you know, she would be proud of him. I'm convinced of that. That these mainstream monopolizers were ignorant of the fact that Harry could actually stand up to them. Because in my opinion, they still view him through the lens of the week before his 13th birthday in September 1997, when he was walking behind his mother's coffin, that vulnerable little boy who did not know what the hell had happened. And you could see as he grew up, he made it his mission to find out exactly what happened. And I'm sure he knows things that he's not, maybe he will never share them. I was going to say not ready to share, but maybe he'll never share. But he knows things that we will most probably never know. And that has fueled his fire, I believe. And what they did not realize is that Harry's strength and determination is derived from his pain. He's turned that pain into purpose, which has been driven by an overwhelming desire to protect his wife and his children and his sanity, basically. They underestimated Meghan's husband, and they should not have done that. Guys, if your thoughts were provoked in any way, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet become a house guest, don't forget to hit subscribe and activate all of your notifications. I want to take this opportunity to thank you guys so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and you shall catch me in the next video.